Welcome, beautiful people of all ages, shapes, and colors, to another episode of the Hit Your Free Throws podcast, where we encourage you to stick to the basics. I'm one of your co-hosts, TV, aka TV on basketball, alongside my co-host, Jay, aka the Knockdown Jay. How's it going, my guy?
Bro, I'm chilling, dog. The NBA free agency has went absolutely nuts. And in the midst of all of that going on, TV, WNBA basketball's been going kind of crazy. So it's about time we locked in, my boy.
Yes, and we're going to be doing a full WNBA episode today. And you're gonna see by our guests why we're gonna be talking about here today. But yeah, full WNBA episode. We're gonna be talking about all things WNBA All-Star. We're gonna be doing a WNBA All-Star draft. We're gonna be talking about snubs, all that good stuff in today's episode. And of course, when we're talking WNBA, when we want to talk about these back and forth topics, we gotta bring on our boy Marcus from the Protect Our Queens podcast. MarcusTalksSports. How's it going, my guy? Man's flexing on camera before he can speak.
Had to finish my emotes.
Man's forgot about the audio listeners. It's okay.
Be back, son. Had to finish my emotes. My bad, bro. My bad.
No, don't worry. One of the emotes are making the thumbnail. It's all good. Thank you for that. all good. But yeah, Marcus. Obviously, check him out. Marcus Talks Sports, Protect Our Queens podcast. Those you can find all that stuff in our description down below. You can find all of his links. He's been on the show a couple times. You know where to find him as well. Yeah, it's going to be a great episode talking all things WNBA All-Stars. We're going to talk about the teams. We're going to be doing a draft at the end. It's going to be Team Hit Your Free Throws versus Team Marcus as a representative of the Protect Our Queens podcast. It's going to be a great episode all around. It should be a good one. But before we get into that, we do have to plug our socials. Make sure you follow our individual socials at TV on Basketball, at The Routine Jumper. Those links can be found in the description down below. In terms of the Hit Your Free Throws podcast, make sure you follow us on TikTok and Instagram for the best daily NBA, WNBA content, where you get the news, you get the different series, you get the clips. All the stuff can be found over there. In terms of the podcast networks, make sure you subscribe and and leave a review if you're listening on Spotify or Apple. And in terms of YouTube, remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you will not miss an episode. Gentlemen, are you ready to get into today's episode?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. And we're going to be talking WNBA All-Star teams. We knew the starters for about like a week now. And of course, we knew like the captains for like just over a week. But we got the full All-Star rosters here. We're going to be basically talking about, some of the snubs, some of the people who got in and all that. There's a heavy amount of rookies in this year's class as well. But Marcus, I'm going to throw it over to you. What are your thoughts on the general All-Star picks? Any surprises? Any shocks? All that good stuff. I'm going to throw it over to you.
The only thing that was like surprising to me, look at who made the All-Star team. You can't get too mad. Like I think a majority of these players that made it definitely deserved it. If I were in charge, if this was just who are my All-Stars for the year, I love Sonia Citron. Sonia Citron's great. I would not have had her in over Brittany Sykes. Brittany Sykes, the best player on that team. I would not have had her in over Brittany Sykes. And as much as I think that Kelsey Mitchell is a basketball player, I don't think that Kelsey Mitchell should be an All-Star either. So maybe one of those two players instead of Brittany Sykes, I'm good for either way. I also am kind of surprised that Bree Jones isn't an All-Star. Bree Jones is quietly having the best season of her career right now in Atlanta. And just looking at the bigs, I don't know who you take off for Bree Jones. I don't know, like maybe you go Kayla Thornton, but she's having a really good season. I think that, just looking at the big specifically, like obviously you got to have Nafisa in there, obviously NECA, obviously Brianna Stewart, Asia Wilson, et cetera, et cetera. It's tough to figure out who comes off for her, but I was just a little bit surprised that Bree Jones wasn't an All-Star. But the big one for me is Brittany Sykes not being on here at all. I love Sonia Citron. I'm a fan of Kelsey Mitchell, but I would have liked to see Brittany Sykes in there over one of the two of them.
Jay, what are you thinking?
I think the biggest thing that stood out for me is more so the narrative around Kayla Thornton making the All-Star game. And it's not necessarily just her in terms of doing it in year 10, what she's been able to do production-wise in terms of averaging career highs across the board, 15-8 or 15-7, excuse me. But I think it's more important that she's doing it for this Valkyries team in a situation where we're talking about putting a franchise on the map, right? Being front and center and having an All-Star in the first iteration of your franchises playing through a full season is really, really important, because all the marketing for Golden State prior to them having this season come up put them in a really good light, given the fact that they weren't bringing a significant talent via free agency, right? This team was like easily one of the quietest teams of the summer, and for good reason, given the fact that this is a team that nobody knows much about, didn't have much starting capital to move with, and things of that nature. So to have a player that they were able to pick up via basically the expansion draft, be so productive and have such an outstanding season this far into her career, I think is really important. It's not just a breakout season for her. It's an important coming out party for this franchise. So that was a name that stands out. Other than that, Marcus made a couple of really good points in terms of just like the mainstay names being there. Nafisa obviously being one of the captains, Asia, Brianna Stewart, excuse me. Some of the mainstay names are obviously going to be there. Importantly so. Outside of that, I think we just got a good list. I think at the end of the day, that's kind of like where I stand on it, is that I think we just got a really good list across the board, and it should be a really productive stand for this upcoming All-Star season for them, All-Star game for them, excuse me, because I feel like it's a really good representation of a lot of different styles too for some of the people that were brought in. And of course, having 3 rookies come in as All-Stars for the first time since 2011 or something like that. Yeah, there's like a lot. I feel like there's a lot of different flavors of things that are going into that All-Star weekend, so can't be too mad at it. Like I said, my shorty Satu's in there, so can't be mad,
No,
productive.
I'm very happy with the list as well. The fact that we got three rookies in here kind of just shows how impactful this rookie class has been so far. Obviously, people are gonna it's gonna be a contentious between how did Sonia Citron make it over Brittany Sykes. People are gonna point to. I know a lot of people in that discussion were pointing towards kind of the efficiency of Brittany Sykes, but it's hard to to argue that when you see the percentages of Kayla Thornton throughout the season, or something like a Kelsey Plum. I mean, yes, she has maybe better counting stats, but her efficiency is probably some of the lowest in her career as well. So I honestly 100% Brittany Sykes should be in there. I was very surprised that the 2 rookies made it over her, especially with the way that she was been able to improve on the offensive end while still maintaining her great defensive capabilities. But for the most part, I'm very happy with this list. I know you're looking at bigs, Marcus. You mentioned Brianna Jones for sure. Low-key, I was hoping someone like Alana Smith would be making onto this team, mostly because of her defensive impact on one of the top defensive teams with the Minnesota Lynx. Courtney Williams has been good. I know people were thinking maybe Kayla McBride goes in there as well, but Alana Smith's impact on the defensive end was something I was very much hopefully leaning into in terms of her making the All-Star team. But for the most part, I think I like the players on this list. It's gonna be interesting to see how we would build our teams when we're going into this, when we actually go into the draft. But for the most part, yeah, Brianna Jones, someone on the list. I was thinking someone like Alana, but it's a good list we have here.
I mean, TV. The thing I think a bigger question that I have, I guess, coming into the All-Star game, more particularly, and maybe we've already kind of mentioned a handful of them, is are there any other players in particular that you think were deserving of being on the team that maybe didn't, that you just want to highlight? I guess maybe too. Alana Smith is a good name too, though.
Alana and Brittany were the 2 I was definitely leaning towards, especially with with the Mystics actually having a solid start to the season, only 2 games under 500. Obviously that's the biggest the All-Star stuff so far this year. But yeah, Alana was definitely mine. If you guys have any other names or just any other thoughts, yeah, definitely throw it in there.
I mean, when I looked at the article, and maybe you guys can react to this, actually, Brittany Sykes came up as the number 1 name on the top 5 article that I found. Brianna Jones came up as another name on the list. The other 3 names that were not mentioned on pod, but were on this list, were Azura Stevens for the Los Angeles Sparks, 15-8, 2, 1.5 steals, 1.5 blocks per game, coming off of an ACL injury. Coming off of a situation where she is able to play in the midst of Cameron Brink being out with her ACL injury, excuse me. Natasha Cloud with her time in New York, being a productive player for them. And then, hilariously enough, another LA player in Dearica Hamby, who's having a near double-double season as well. Those were the other names that came up in this
Dearica Hamby was someone else that I was thinking of bringing on. But also, I think with the Sparks being 6-13, having a second All-Star there next to Kelsey was definitely going to be a choice, especially when you have like a surprising team, like someone, of course, obviously someone from the Valkyries, especially with like how well they were playing. You want to have someone in there. You want to have multiple All Stars for like both the Liberty and the Lynx as well. So limited spots, but I was definitely thinking Dearica Hamby, but it would be definitely like a decision if you were to choose 2 All Stars from a bottom 5 team as well. Marcus,
She
any other
felt more
guys?
deserving last year. She felt more deserving last season for it than this year. I think productivity wise. But that was really it. I'm not gonna lie. All-Star game is the All-Star game for the most part. I think they got this as right as you could get. It's a little bit different from the NBA, where I feel like because there's also so many teams to choose from with the NBA, it can be kind of skewed in terms of what a successful team looks like in terms of how that produces, an all-star versus maybe if you're talking about all-NBA, that's a little bit more straightforward. But in the WNBA, especially with the limited amount of teams, I feel like they grabbed just about everybody that deserved to be on the list.
Marcus, like, what are your thoughts on like the new, like this, like basically like this like new era? There's like a lot of like these like new younger players coming into the draft, and like taking some of like the spots away from like some of the veterans. Do you think this is like fully deserved, or do you think like some of those girls like who are like, in the league longer deserve like more of like some sort of shine or some sort of like position in terms of like getting like the All-Star nod? Because I know like in the NBA, right? Like in terms of like young people, like these like the young players coming in, even though they might have the numbers, even though there might be some team success, like they will like lean towards the older players and people who have like the seniority there, and will give them like for like the perennial All Stars. How do you feel about like these like a lot of like the younger players, especially when you got like Angel in there, you got Caitlin in there, a bunch of like a bunch of younger WNBA talent, like really like making a stamp and like being a part of this All Star game.
I have to sneeze, so you have to forgive me. But I mean, Caitlin and Angel were All Stars last year, so it's not surprising they're All Stars this year. Kiki Iriafin at one point had a double like every other night and was breaking records in her own right. So like, it makes sense that Kiki is there. Again, the only one that I'm kind of on the fence about is Sonia Citron, but again, she's been playing well this season as well. I did check earlier just because at the beginning of the season, I predicted that someone was going to we would get a 50, 40, 90 player this year. So I've just been periodically like checking numbers to see kind of who's close. Sonia Citron right now is shooting 47, 38, and 87. So like she's one of the better. She's been one of the more efficient scorers in the league so far this year. She's averaging 15 points a game. She's got 5 boards a game, 2 assists as well. The Mystics are 8 and 10. The only reason why you look at a Brittany Sykes and say why she's not on the team instead of a Sonia Citron is because Brittany Sykes did miss a couple games due to, I think it was a leg injury or something like that. Sonia Citron and Kiki Iriafin have played every game of the season. So I understand in that regard why Sonia's on, but like it's not like these younger players who are on the team are undeserving, right? Angel Reese is in the midst of a 5-game streak of 15 of 5. She's got 5 consecutive games of 15 or more rebounds. It's never been done before. Like we know what she is, right? We know who Caitlin Clark's not having the best season she's been having right now. She's not playing that well compared to how she was playing last year, but we know who Caitlin Clark is as a basketball player. I talked about Kiki and I talked about Sonia Citron. Even Paige missed a couple games, but she came back and she's like every other night. She's the fastest person to do this, or the first person to do this. Like even her in her own right, as an overall pick this season, she's been playing well. I think again, like for me, the only ones that you're talking about, the Dearicas, the Azares, Brittany Sykes, Bree Jones, those are all preferential things. Where you look at it, you'd say maybe they should be an all-star, but they didn't make it. Not the end of the world. It's not like there's someone on the list that just outright shouldn't be. You know what I mean? We do have to take into consideration as well. Caitlin Clark is still dealing with the groin injury. So I don't know if she's playing in there. I think they have a game tomorrow. I don't know if she's playing in that game or not. She was practicing though. I did see videos of her practicing. So I'm sure she'll do whatever she can to be healthy in that game. But there are a couple players on here who may or may not be available to play at that point. I do think everyone that made it, though, is healthy. I think Caitlin's really the only question mark right now. But with All-Star Weekend being the weekend of the 19th, I believe, being this upcoming weekend, she'll probably do what she can to make it because, of course, it is in Indianapolis. But no, I think all 20 ladies that are on the All-Star roster have certainly deserved to make it this year.
Yeah, that's great too, and especially like again seeing like all this like young talent coming in as well, and like actually like making a great a big splash. It's fantastic. And hopefully it's gonna be a good weekend because we got, of course, they got the 3-point contest going on. They got the skills challenge going on. This is definitely gonna be a year where I'm gonna lock in. I just want like another question like for Marcus just in general, like as someone who's been like watching the WNBA, and I think Jay, if you want to chip in, you can go like ahead here. Like, there's been a lot of like obviously concerns about NBA All-Star Weekend, like having all these like extra events. Is it too long? This and that. Like, what are like the biggest complaints with the WNBA All-Star Weekend? Do you think it's like more of like a do you think it's actually like a better like experience compared to the NBA side of things, or do you think there's like some changes that you are thinking that that needs to be made there as well?
WNBA All-Star Weekend is 100 times better than NBA All-Star Weekend. For no reason other than the All-Star game itself is 100 times better than the NBA All-Star game. I do think, and I think this will probably happen once we get closer to, if not after 2030, once these other three teams in Detroit, Cleveland, and Philadelphia join the fold. I think by that time, I think there will be reasonable justification to have a Rising Stars game similar to how the NBA has, because there's just going to be so much young talent. It'll be unfortunate to not be able to see players like Kiki and Sonia and Angel and Caitlin in that. But I do think if there's one thing that the WNBA could add to enhance All-Star Weekend is a game like that, right? Where you have the best 1 and 2 year players play a basketball game against each other. I think it'll show, I think it does a number of things. Number one, it just puts the spotlight on them and shows them that these players are talented in the WNBA for a reason, but also just to show too that there is a lot of talent in the WNBA. So that's something that I think probably should and likely will happen. You know, once we get to that expansion point, is having that Rising Stars game, because you'll have so much. I mean, we're talking about potentially, if there's not a lockout, hopefully, talking about another expansion draft for the two teams in Portland and Toronto that are going to be joining in 2026, another expansion draft in 2028 for Detroit, one after that in 2029 for Cleveland, and then another one in 2030 for Philly. So there's going to be a lot of young talent entering the league. You know, the class of 2026 is stacked. The class of 2027 is stacked. The class of 2028 is stacked. The class of 2029 and 2030, you know, jury's still out, but there's still a lot of talent in those classes as well. Neither of those classes have actually made it to college yet. They're still in high school, so we haven't actually seen them at that level. But you talk about 2026, you're talking Flavia Johnson, Olivia Miles, you're talking about Lauren Betts. Like, those are probably going to be the top 3 picks in 2026. You get to 2027, you're talking Madison Booker, Hannah Hidalgo, Audi Crooks. Those may be the top 3 picks in that draft. Then you get to 2028, assuming Juju takes her additional year because she did suffer the ACL injury. She'll probably headline that 2028 class along with the litany of other talent that I didn't mention. Obviously, you know, your Malaysia Fulwileys and things of that nature. You know, your Michaela Blakeses, like, just so there's a lot of talent coming down the pipe, as Martin and I like to say all the time on Protect Our Queen. So if there's anything that the WNBA could do to enhance All-Star Weekend, I'm not saying like make it better, but just add to the spectacle, would be a rookie sophomores type situation. Because with all that talent, you want to get that young talent. You want to give them a chance to shine at some point. The only other thing I think that we'll probably see happen is also, I don't want to say a return, because I'm not sure if it was ever this way. I think it was, though. But East versus West, I think, will come back as well once we get to 18 teams. Again, I'm not 100% sure if it were like that. I think it was like that previously, you know, before this most recent stretch of time where it's kind of been like captains, and then every Olympic year they do Team USA versus the All-Stars. But I think once we get to 2030 and we have those teams, I think they'll probably abandon this draft model and go back to the East versus West, because you'll have 9 teams in each conference and enough talent on both sides to actually form 2 formidable teams. But regardless of the format, I have always said this. I firmly believe this. You can call me crazy. I enjoy women's basketball a little bit more than men's basketball, just because it's more fundamentally sound. The games are better. The players, in some regard, you can say, are arguably more talented, not necessarily as far as athletic ability. Obviously, there's not girls out here jumping out of the gym. They can dunk, but they're not like jumping out of the gym and things of that nature. But fundamentally, basketball-wise, some of these girls are more fundamentally sound than these guys are. Giving them more opportunities to showcase that over the course of the week, and I think you have to accept. I think All-Star Weekend right now is just 2 days. They do events on Friday and they do events on Saturday. If you added a Rising Stars game in there, you can have a full-on weekend like the NBA does. And I do think with the growth of the league, I think that will happen eventually.
Yeah, even before like the 5 teams come in, like even if they like add 3 teams where they have like, you know, 8 teams in the 8 teams in both like the East and Western Conference, like I think that's enough, especially when you add like, you know, these like 30 new like faces onto like rosters. You're basically expanding the league to that point. Like I think that's even a good time to like include like the rookie sophomore game or whatever you want to add. I think like
They won't
just like
do
the
it
whole,
until it's even. They
you
won't
know,
do it with the way they have it. With the way they have it, Portland and because Golden State joined first, even with Portland and Toronto joining in 2026, the West will still have one more team. They could probably do it in
okay,
2028 because Detroit will be there, and so then they'll be
yes,
even at what will be 8 apiece on each side. But I don't. But
yeah,
I think they would for the hoopla of it and for the excitement of it. I think they would wait until Cleveland and Philadelphia have
okay,
joined, and then they'll do it. Just off the simple fact that I think about the way that the WNBA has evolved, they kind of wait for big things to happen before they unroll out like a new chapter. Plus, by the time we get to 2030, the WNBA will be
yeah, like
what is it?
32 years old, 32
I
years
think
old, I
so.
think.
I
Yeah,
think so. WNBA was founded in 1997, so by the time we get to
okay,
2030, WNBA will be 32 or 33 years old.
33 years old. Yeah,
So
yeah,
it might be 2 more years, the 35th anniversary of the WNBA, when we see the introduction of the Rising Stars Challenge and a return to East West and things of that nature. That stuff's coming. I think they want to focus on getting all the teams that they have coming in first,
okay,
and then talk about changing All Star. The big focus right now is obviously the new CBA. So like they're
yeah,
not worried about changing much of anything else until
yeah,
that's all taken care of. Not that
yeah.
that
That
necessarily has an impact on All Star, but in a way it does, because as I've predicted, we might not get a WNBA season next year. There might be a lockout. And so if there is a lockout in 2026, I would assume in my mind would have we won't have Portland or Toronto in 2026. They'd be here in 2027. And so the WNBA would probably want to try to space some stuff out a bit if that's the case. I'm not hoping for a lockout, obviously. I love the WNBA. I don't want to
yeah,
see a lockout, but I think it's possible. Given how
yeah,
upset Satu Sabali was and how upset Breonna Stewart was about that
yeah. I was just
initial
saying
offer,
that,
I don't there it from what I've understand it from what I read, the offer that Satu said it flat out, it was a slap in the face. Breonna Stewart said as well flat out, everything that we asked for, that initial offer is like they just completely ignored them. I do know that they're going to be having meetings this weekend during All Star to kind of enhance these negotiations. But if we're being realistic, there is a chance that there could be a lockout, and so that could affect the way that the All Star game, if there are going to be any changes made, the way that those changes are kind of rolled out and things of that nature. But we'll see. The WNBA also has like a lot of other things they got to fix, but I don't want to turn this into like a what's wrong with the WNBA conversation.
oh no, 100%. That is like a completely different episode all on its own. I was just gonna just quickly ask, just like regarding like the whole CBA thing. I know you're like a lot more tapped in than we are on this. Like, if you were from what you read, like what you've seen, like as a percentage, like where do you feel at? Like, do you think we're gonna be like in a WNBA lockout next year? Like as like a feeling. I know like you don't know, like obviously you're not in the room, you're not like behind the scenes, but like as a feeling right now as a WNBA fan, like at a percentage.
A percentage, I would say, just because they're still. So we got to remember, right? Like we're in July. The
Yeah,
season ends.
October, right?
I think
October.
mid-October. Season
Yeah,
ends
October. Yeah.
mid-October, right? And then the new league year starts at some point in February.
Yes.
So the goal is to have agreed on, from what I understand from the way collective bargaining agreement negotiations work, the goal is to have a new CBA in place before the league year starts, or else it's going to delay everything else. So I think the league year starts in January or February, somewhere around there is when free agency starts. So that's when the league year starts. So right now I'm going to say it's 50-50 because there's just so much time between now and then. But
Okay.
given the way that Satu has responded and given the way that Breonna Stewart has responded, I would lean more likely right now to the fact that it's likely that we see that lockout than we don't. Nothing number two, and I know that a bunch of people who don't watch WNBA basketball, who are only here for Caitlin Clark, whatever, like to say no one watches, no one cares, all this, that, and the third. We got to remember, the players have all the leverage right now. The players have, like, I can sit here and I can tell you about how the league was in an upward trajectory already before Caitlin and Angel and the crew arrived. I can tell, which is true. Like, you can look at viewership numbers, revenue numbers, jersey sale numbers, any metric you want to point to shows the WNBA was on an upward trajectory, but it did explode in 2024. I'm not one of those fans out here that's going to deny that. But because of that explosion, the players have all of the leverage right now. To steal a term out of the world of wrestling, which I know all three of us watch WWE, at various levels, like, you want to strike while the iron's hot. You don't want to, with this, like, again, this has been a great year. The class of 2026 is going to be major. 2027, it's like there's a lot of talent coming. What the WNBA can't afford to do is have a lockout. From the WNBA side of things, from the league perspective, from the Kathy Engelbert perspective as the commissioner of the league, they can't afford for there not to be WNBA basketball next season. Now, the players can't either, right? Because this is how they make their money. But I think in today's generation of athletes, right, and this, player empowerment era that we've been in the last 10, 12, 15 years, even, it seems like, right? Like, I think the players are willing to rest on their laurels and be like, we have the leverage. These are the things we want. You can give us what we want, or we cannot play basketball. And at the end of the day, that's going to hurt you guys more than it's going to hurt us, because there are players out here who still, are still going to have overseas commitments from playing for their countries, whether it's Eurobasket or FIBA or whatever the case may be, right? 2026 is 2026. It'll be 2 years before the Olympics. So that's usually when like trials and things like that will start happening. So like these players are going to have stuff to do. There are players who play in Unrivaled. There's players who play in the Athletes Unlimited Pro League. These players are going to find ways to make money playing basketball. Some players have gone back to their schools to pick up roles there. Obviously, over the course of the summer, they're not as active in those roles, obviously. But my point being, the players have all the leverage. The players know that. Players have said it. Like, players are on record as having said, we have the leverage. Fans even acknowledge that we have the leverage. And I think Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner, also knows that the players have the leverage. And at some point, I think when push comes to shove, as these negotiations get closer to ending, whenever that time is going to be, it'll be because Kathy has realized they have all the leverage. And in the long run, whatever the players are asking for, it's only going to get you more money in the end of it, right? The percentage of jersey sales, right? There's no reason why these ladies, I mean, I gave Jay a hard time earlier. Jay's got a Sabrina Ionescu jersey. There's no reason why Sabrina Ionescu isn't getting a percentage of that money from that jersey sale the way that all the NBA players and every other athlete and every other professional sports league gets. There's no reason why why WNBA players aren't getting a percentage of jersey sales from that regard, right? I even listed on Threads, I talked about scheduling, which I thought was a big issue. The league is going to want to increase more games. We're at 44 this year. Last year, we're at 40. And adding more games to the season is fine, but you can't add more games and expect all those games to be played in the same amount of time. That's why we're seeing so many players hurt. Nafisa Collier got hurt. Asia Wilson got hurt. They're both back now, right? Enrique Gonzalez is out right now. Jonquel Jones has been out for a couple weeks. Caitlin Clark, as I mentioned earlier, dealing with an injury. Like, a lot of high-profile players have been suffering injuries, and others. Ray Burrell of the Los Angeles Sparks, she got hurt obviously 46 seconds into the season, so that doesn't really help. But again, you got all these players getting hurt. You're seeing so many players get picked up on hardships and being waived and all this movement and things of that nature. If you want to get us to 48, 52, 56, even 60 games one day, you got to extend the league. You have to extend the season, right? The one thing that I love about the WNBA is, for the most part, we're not seeing a lot of back-to-backs. You're not seeing teams play on back-to-back nights, which is good. It's helpful. But if you want to continue that, again, you got to spread the season out. Obviously, base pay is going to be a big thing. The benefit of the class of 2026 is the base salary for the class of 2026 is going to be higher than it was for the last couple of years, rookie seasons as well. And a big reason why so many free agents this year signed a bunch of one-year deals, and the reason why next year's offseason is going to be even crazier than this year's offseason, is because all these players are waiting to figure out what is the new salary going to be like so that they can renegotiate and get more money. So we thought this offseason was crazy. If there is a 2026 season and a 2026 offseason specifically, the 2026 offseason is going to be even crazier, because literally every single free agent that found a new home or re-signed with their team from last year signed a one-year deal. Every single one of them. The only players who aren't on one-year contracts or on expiring deals right now are players who sign extensions in 2022 or 2023, or rookies from the class of 2021, I believe, are on the final year of their deal as well. Everybody else is either has 2 or 3 years left on their deal because they signed an extension in 2022 or 2023, or they're on a one-year deal. So all the movement we saw this season is just a drop in the bucket compared to the movement we're going to see next year, and I'm excited for it if we can get to it. If we get there,
yeah. Sure. Jay, any thoughts?
I mean, Marcus dumped a lot. I mean, at the end of the day, he covered a lot of bases, and I think it's really important to understand this side. This is the type of stuff, TV, we talk about this all the time from an NBA perspective of this is the side that people don't discuss a lot. Remember, me and you had a kind of bypass when we were talking about the Boston Celtics and what they were doing in terms of unloading their roster, and one of the biggest domino effects leading into that was them understanding the financial aspect of their team being so expensive that the dang owners sold the squad, right? These are the certain aspects that the fans have to pay attention to in order to understand some of the other trickling effects that come with that. I think this is a really important conversation to have. And it's funny that we're building out of the conversation of the All-Star weekend as part of this deeper contrast with what the actual league is trying to do long term. Because I think at the end of the day, the main word that has to be focused on is entertainment, right? That has to be the most important thing in terms of not just the revenue that's being brought in, but the building of this league long term. Marcus pointed out something that's really important if you're somebody that's getting into the WNBA right now. Talk about showing up at a really good time from a talent perspective. The WNBA has already had a very strong pool, but if you're one of those people that's getting into the WNBA right now, you can still kind of slowly grow into a fan through some of these younger prospects in a really strong way, because the crops that are coming in are very talented and are being very productive out the gate, a la what we talked about with there being 3 rookie all-stars this year, and that being the first time we've seen that in over 10 years, right? So you're coming in at a really good time, but certain things like this lockout, for example, are a good example of how those things can be affected by the business side of basketball. And I think more importantly, something that was brought up earlier on was the concept of just overall player leverage within this. And that's why you have weird conspiracy theories that, like, also I believe Nafisa Collier, who is a representative of the NBA WNBA Player Association
She's
as well.
VP. Yep.
Yeah, see, very high level, and I think there was a weird conspiracy theory that was brought up around her and Brianna Stewart's functionality within a lot of the conversations around it all, because of the fact that, of course, they have the interest of Unrivaled also in consideration, as well as another medium of being able to make money financially, make headways financially with playing basketball. Obviously, they took up a lot of the summer when you look at not only what they were able to do from a business perspective, but also just go back to what kind of sponsorship and support they were able to get off the court, and some of the names that signed on as supporters for Unrivaled, which I think is actually a further feather in the cap for the kind of player empowerment, like, I guess, flexibility, I guess is the word, for what they are capable of doing in terms of establishing a backing financially for this league in a way that makes it where the WNBA has to look at themselves and ask themselves, what, like they have to ask themselves, what more can we do to push this thing forward? Because clearly people are interested in women's basketball enough to put their money where their mouth is, quite literally, to the point that we saw a league get built up out of the pockets of players and then built up further through outside support. So the issue is not whether or not people are interested in WNBA basketball the way many might have questioned a few seasons ago. I think, as Marcus mentioned earlier, the interest in women's basketball has slowly increased over time and had a significant boom last season that kind of really stood out in particularly. But this has been a slow grind that's led to this area that we're in now for quite some time. And now this is just what, again, striking where the iron's hot, or where Marcus mentioned, of seeing people actually put their money where their mouth is behind this support that they have. So I feel like there's a strong enough blueprint to understand that there are real wants to further build up this league. I think that the WNBA needs to just be more open-minded and recognize the situation for exactly what it is. Like Marcus said, of saying, like, seeing that, no, this opportunity is kind of too good to pass up. And the idea of letting a season, in particular, like next year, with the way everything is set up, with the expansion team, the actual draft class that's coming in, the insane free agency that could be next season as well, all of those things factored in, the idea of just letting a lot of those things fall through and not understanding the magnitude of the moment, it goes kind of deeper than just the on the floor stuff. So I feel like when you put it all together, it's going to be really interesting to see what some of these changes do, not just for individual teams, but again, how even free agents make decisions moving forward, with the fact that we have a new we basically have a new expansion team every year for the next 4 years, 5 years, basically, right? Like you guys
Yes.
said.
There's gonna be 5 expansion drafts in the next 6 years.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, 5 in the next 6 when you would include the one that was last year.
right.
Yeah.
So when you put that in perspective, like you're in a really interesting time frame of not only the incoming talent, but the movement within the talent that's already in the league, which is, again, a thing that a lot of NBA fans, right, if you want to look at it from that perspective, for people that are not as familiar with WNBA free agency and different things of that nature, it's obviously structured the same, but it's very similar in terms of the hype around seeing the jersey change, right? The idea of seeing how the team's roster changes because of the movement around it. There's never going to be a more prominent time of the combination of incoming talent paired with free agency movement than the next pocket of time that we're about to be in. And the last thing that I feel like we would want to see as fans, but I'm sure even from a business perspective at the top, is a delay in that by any of these weird negotiations that are taking place. I hope you're wrong, Marcus, and I know you hope you're wrong.
Yeah.
But I understand at the same time why he says 50-50, because I think this really matters. This CBA counts a lot
It's almost,
more than
yes.
some of the ones we've seen. This might be the most impactful CBA between both leagues, in my personal opinion. I think this CBA and what comes implication wise from a financial perspective, like, trumps anything that we saw with the NBA CBA, and that's coming with the idea of seeing things like the second apron and things of that nature being implemented as well. That's really made it where the NBA has moved so much differently in the last 2 seasons alone, just by this implementation of the second apron. I believe that the WNBA's CBA coming up is going to be just as impactful, if not 2 times as impactful as what we just saw with the NBA, and that's important. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I was gonna compare more of this like CBA coming out for the WNBA more to like, again, I'm not like overly familiar with the NBA CBA, like it's like maybe past like 2016 or something. But if I remember like 2016 where they had like the big boom in like salary cap and all that stuff and like player wages just completely going up, that's the same summer where you saw the Timofey Mozgov contract, the whole thing. Like this is kind of that sort of impact in terms of like being able to increase, like, again, like player salaries, making sure you extend the lead and striking when the iron's hard, because this is like the most popular to players, and it's like all on the players. By the way, people are paying to see the product. You see the jersey that Jay is wearing. You see like all this stuff. Like people are invested in the players in the WNBA now, and like Marcus said, they have all the leverage because people are paying to see them play. It's not like where the WNBA has like this like crazy like billionaire like, ecosystem like they have in like the NBA and all these other leagues. The players have a lot of like, there's a reason why the players have all the control, is because they're the ones who are helping the growth of this league, and there's just more and more coming down the pipeline. So I think the players, like Marcus said, can like stand on business because there's like even like avenues when it comes with overseas and with like Unrivaled that's going on right now. It's all the pressure's on the WNBA here. They need them to make the moves quick, and if they want to continue to see like this like crazy growth that the WNBA has been going through those last couple of years, you need to check with the Irons Heart and make sure that CBA is signed no matter what it takes. So it's super important. I've always look over after the player first. I'm not going to be the ones to be like, oh, the WNBA are in the right for this and that. I'm all for players getting their money no matter what. So I need the WNBA again. The players continue to stand on business, but also I need the WNBA to get this contract signed just so you can like keep this momentum going, because it's not going to stop with the amount of talent in the player talent and the player pool they have right now. It's just going to keep on growing.
Yeah, so TV, we're gonna swing things back to being on the court specifically, of course, because we're gonna end with the draft, the All-Star draft later on. So we're gonna actually transition into more of the on the court stuff, just because we have somebody on the podcast that obviously covers the WNBA a lot closer than we do, and I'm interested to get his thoughts on 2 in particular storylines that I think are kind of important for the framework of the rest of the season moving forward. Marcus, we're going to talk about 2 things, and I think one is in the wheelhouse of a team that we are in agreement on, and the other one is in the wheelhouse of a storyline that has been on the minds of WNBA fans over the last 2 weeks. These are not too crazy, but I think are kind of important. One of them is the recent news that Dewanna Bonner may end up on the Mecury soon, given the fact that obviously we had a weird saga with her in terms of what took place with the Indiana Fever as a player that didn't play too well when she first signed with the team and started off the season. Missed about 5 to 6 games for personal reasons, I guess is what they said beforehand. And now is going to be on a team that has been really productive this season. Your thoughts on the Phoenix Mercury so far this year and bringing in Dewanna Bonner? I'm interested. I want to give my thoughts afterwards, but this is just news that kind of dropped today, and I'm kind of interested because this is an all-star caliber player we're talking about that just hasn't been the all-star caliber player we've seen in the past so far this year.
I've been very high on the Phoenix Mercury this season. I have said on a number of occasions that I think that if all goes well, they could make a run to the finals. And I think Dewanna Bonner is a good basketball player. I think she's one of the all-time greats, probably top 15 ever in the history of the league. Maybe off the top of my head. But I don't like the Dewanna Bonner signing. I'm going to be honest with you, just at initial thoughts. Like when I'm thinking about this Phoenix Mercury squad, I'm thinking about what Satu Sabali has been able to do this season. I'm thinking about what Alyssa Thomas has done this season. I'm thinking about what Kali Copper has done in her limited exposure this season. And adding a player like Dewanna Bonner to Phoenix, she's going to start. And that's good. You want a player with her experience, with her ability on both sides of the ball to start. And you would think you add a player like that into Phoenix and it would work. And I'm not saying it won't work. What I am saying is the flow and the way that this team looks might be a bit different, right? Because now that's another all-star caliber mouth to feed. And I think they're going to still win games. I think they're going to still make the playoffs. Basketball history tells us when teams make big splashes, they rarely win a championship the year they make the big splash. And I'm not saying that Dewanna Bonner is going to keep Phoenix from a championship. I'm not saying if Phoenix doesn't win a championship this season, it'll be Dewanna Bonner's fault, because this is still, I think, a race between the Lynx and the Liberty, even though they themselves have some things to figure out, probably a little bit more so the Liberty than the Lynx. The Lynx have not looked all that great the last couple of games, especially that Commissioner Cup game just 6 days ago. I mean, Nafisa Collar didn't look good at all. And obviously, I'm not, Nafisa Collar, we can count on one hand probably the rest of the season the number of times Nafisa Collar is going to have another game where she shoots as poorly as she did and not get to double digits. And we probably won't need more than one finger to do so. But it's something to take a look at as far as the grand scheme of things. And aside from Nafisa Collier, the Minnesota Lynx have been in situations a lot this season where they're down double digits and got to fight their way back to win the basketball game at the end. So I say all that to say I like Dewanna Bonner. I'm a fan of Dewanna Bonner. And again, as a two-way basketball player, I think she can bring a lot to that team on both sides of the ball. I'm just a little bit worried and a little bit apprehensive of how her presence may or may not disrupt how things have been flowing in Phoenix so far.
I definitely agree with you on that one. I thought it was a really interesting idea for them to bring her in, given the fact that, again, like you said, it's going to be a disruptance of a team that's been really productive this season. And the fact that they're going into the All-Star weekend with two All-Stars that have been really productive in their own ways. Obviously, two players that have a really strong track record of doing things at a high level. Talking about Satu as a scorer and Alyssa as a setup point guard, and a player that's just super productive in terms of efficiency wise, right? So bringing her in, obviously there's a rapport off the rip. We know where it is and in terms of where she steps in. But I also agree with you that from a championship perspective, on paper, does this obviously make them more talented? Of course, no one is going to shoot past that and act like that's not part of what you're getting in an acquisition like this one. You just also do wonder with the rhythm that they have right now, if that's going to be upsetting the apple cart, so to speak. The other thing I wanted to touch on really, really quickly, because of the fact that we were talking about the All-Star game, I wanted to speak on a player that obviously was not in the conversation for this, but was in a conversation for a different reason because of the two rookies that we are interested in for the Washington Mystics. News around potential trade packages around Aaliyah Edwards came out like 2 days ago. And I don't really want to pull up the trade packages because I think they're jokes. Personally, that's one of those things where I feel like I don't really understand the logic behind it. But given the context of the two rookie all-stars out the gate, Kiki Ariafin in particular being, right there, I think bar for bar with Paige Beckers as, rookie of the year this season. Thoughts on the Washington Mystics so far this season? TV, I'm actually going to ask you for your thoughts on the Washington Mystics as well this year with the fact that they've had the rookies play the way they are. The reason why I asked that is because I feel like they're in a really good spot right now. And again, I feel like this is one of those things, and maybe it's just my fear as a person who also supports the Washington Wizards to a lesser degree and sees dysfunctionality in a lot of different ways. But the Wizards are on a good track right now in terms of young talent, and it looks like the Mystics are in the same area. Do you feel like there's any like blockage with Aaliyah Edwards where we have to even be considering trades? Do you think that this is just something that you have to do as an organization to weigh your options? I feel like the Mystics are in a really good spot right now, and I don't understand the logic behind her being on the trade block, even if it is subtly.
No, she's on the trade block. She will get moved probably before the trade deadline on August 8th. I've had the privilege of having a good friend of mine, Kareem Copeland. He works for the Washington Post. He covers the Mystics. I've had him on the show a couple times. So let's back up a bit.
Okay.
So obviously the Mystics come into the season. They have pick 3, pick 4, pick 6. They pick
Right.
Georgia Amore, Sonia Citron, and Kiki Iriafen. Right. Georgia Amore obviously goes down with ACL injury in training camp. Second practice of training camp, actually, she goes down with ACL injury, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
So again, we talked about so you have that component of it, right? I was very excited about Kiki coming to DC because I thought exactly what they needed. I was excited about Georgia. I was excited about Sonia. Obviously pairing them with or grouping them in with Aaliyah Edwards, grouping them in with Shakira Austin. I thought that was going to be the best young starting five in basketball, and I thought it was going to be one of the best, if not the best, starting five in basketball in 4 or 5 years when we were all healthy and clicking and all that good stuff. Then, of course, we get to the season. Aaliyah Edwards has a back contusion. She misses the first 2 weeks of the season. So because she missed the first 2 weeks of the season, Kiki Iriafen probably had a little bit more run and a little bit more minutes on the floor than maybe was initially planned by head coach Cindy Johnson. And as I mentioned, she did great. She had back-to-back games against Brittany Griner and Tina Charles. She logged 31 points, 16 rebounds combined across those 2 games. Brittany Griner and Tina Charles are 2 of the greatest, not just bigs of all time, 2 of the greatest players the WNBA has ever seen. And so when you, in game 1 and game 2, do that against 2 all-time greats, something's clicking there, and that means you're pro ready, which we already knew before her name was even called.
Yeah.
You have to keep in mind this as well. Kiki Iriafen is a 4. She can play the 5, but she would be a small ball 5. Aaliyah Edwards is a 4, and you're not realistically going to play her at the 3. And so when you look at the fact that Kiki Iriafen has played so well this season, couple that with the fact that Coach Cindy Johnson wants this team to get out in transition. They want to be fast. They want to do 8 seconds or less on the shot clock, get a shot up 8 seconds or less, as well as the fact that Aaliyah Edwards did miss the first 2 weeks of the season with a back contusion. She kind of got lost in the shuffle. So whereas coming into this season, we were all excited to see Aaliyah Edwards start and have meaningful minutes and be impactful, not just because of what she did her rookie year, but because of how she looked and unrivaled. Unfortunately, Kiki Iriafen was probably a little bit better or started the season a little bit better than maybe the organization expected them to. So that's the first thing. I was of the mindset that they would trade Stephanie Dolson because Stephanie Dolson is older. Stephanie Dolson is not as fast. Stephanie Dolson doesn't fit in the system that well. And Stephanie Dolson is a veteran player who you could get, maybe a couple of second round picks, maybe a decent rotational player back in exchange to maybe beef up their wing or guard rotation for this season. But then again, as I mentioned, we're talking 5 expansion drafts in the next 6 years. And if you remember, with the rules of the expansion draft, you can only protect 6 players.
Right.
Now, I don't think that Georgia Amore would count towards their 6, similarly to how Liz Kitley didn't count towards Vegas' 6 last season because she was injured. Even if she doesn't count, let's just run down the 6 players. Kiki Iriafen is a must, obviously. Sonia Citron is a must, obviously. Brittany Sykes is the best player on the team. You have to keep her. Shakira Austin, you got to keep her. That's 4 players right there. If Steph Dolson is still on this team at the end of the season, they'll probably want to keep her as well. And at that 6th spot, if Georgia Amore isn't included at the 6th, then you talk about, okay, are you keeping a Jade Melvin, who's been playing pretty well this season and absent in lieu of Georgia Amore? Are you keeping a player like Shug Sutton? Do you want to keep a player like a Lucy Olsen, who they also drafted in the 2nd round this season? Do you want to keep a player like Emily Engstler, who's been playing pretty well this season? These are the things you have to think about. And so from an asset perspective, from the organizational perspective, now you have 3 options. You have 2 options initially. You can trade Steph Dolson, and at best, you get back, a 2nd round pick. Or you trade Aaliyah Edwards, who's a good player. She's 23 years old, or will be turning 23 years old this season, and would get a lot back. Okay, if you're moving off of Aaliyah Edwards, now the 2 options are either we keep her this season and then let her walk for free in the expansion draft, likely to Toronto because she's Canadian, or we trade her now and get whatever we can get back for her now and continue to build on moving forward. And when you look at it from that perspective, trading Aaliyah Edwards isn't just what's best for the Mystics as far as being able to continue to rebuild this franchise to get back to hopefully one day winning another WNBA championship, but it's in the best interest of Aaliyah Edwards because at her age, she's not in her prime. She's a good basketball player. She can play both sides very well. She's a good rebounder. She's got a good motor. She can run in transition. She's a reliable shooter. She's a pretty decent scorer. They want to try to get her out into the 3-point range a little bit more, but she's really good in the mid range. She's good, back to the basket, solid in the pick and roll. And you look at that and you say, there's a lot of teams that can use that. The Dallas Wings, obviously, is the first thing that comes to mind because of the connection with Paige, right? There's other teams that could use her presence as well. As an Aces fan, I would have loved to get Aaliyah Edwards to get her in Vegas, right? We ended up going with Melissa Smith, and I don't hate that, but I would have loved to have had a player like Aaliyah Edwards paired up with A'ja Wilson and just watch A'ja Wilson pour into Aaliyah Edwards. That would have been beautiful. So when looking from that perspective, I think, and I said this on Protect Our Queens last week, I think I don't know if this is the one that'll get it done, but I think the most realistic trade package that other teams have to compete with from the Dallas Wings is Maddie Siegrist and a second-round pick for Aaliyah Edwards. And I think the Mystics would say yes to that. There's not many other teams in the league who could compete with that package as far as providing a pick, because look, it is a second-round pick, but we're talking about a league that'll have 15 teams next year. Yeah. So a second, and with the litany of talent that's coming in, a second-round pick from the Dallas Wings would be the equivalent of a late first-round pick in the NBA. You're still getting a good player, a solid rotational player. And so again, when you look from that perspective, well, I do agree with you, because I wrote articles about how excited I was for Aaliyah Edwards to be on this team with all this youth talent, with all this young talent they brought in. I look at it and I say, in the best interest of Aaliyah Edwards and in the best interest of the organization, it does make sense that they are sending Aaliyah Edwards elsewhere, and getting what they can get back from her so that she can go be great and so that they can continue to be great as well.
Evie, your thoughts too. This is one of those things. We're going to transition obviously into the WNBA All-Star Draft in a little bit. I just think this is really interesting because of the fact that as two guys who are interested in rebuilding NBA teams, I look at moves like these on the margins where you have to consider these type of things. I also took into account your Canadian bias as well, because this is a player that obviously if certain things go a certain way, this is a player that is in the wheelhouse of conversation for your team when given the conversation that this is a player that might not be protected going into next season, depending on what happens come that deadline.
Oh, no, don't worry. The first thing I was thinking of, especially when these trade rumors are coming up, I was like, oh, is this a possibility for her to be like eligible in the expansion draft, like coming back here? Because
let's get one thing clear: whatever team trades for Aaliyah Edwards will be protected.
I know they're going to protect her.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I know they're going to protect her. Yeah, for sure. But like with like this is the thing, right? Like you come into the season and then you have like Sonia and like Kiki like starting off the season so well. I mean, Kiki like was like the first like rookie of the month, right, or something like that. So like she won rookie of the month that month. So is this like an overlap of positions? Yes, she like fits the timeline, but at the same time, like if like Marcus said, if you can get a good package from her and you don't like have to trade and you choose not to trade the older Stephanie Dolson, then you can get a decent back for her. And Maddie Siegrist has been really good this year. I think she could fit like right into that 3 position there in Washington. So if that offer is on the table, 100% take it. But selfishly, if she does stay with the Washington Mystics and they try to ride this out, and she does become eligible eventually to be in the expansion draft, I want her to be on the Toronto Temple, because if you can get her, I know Kia Nurse hasn't had a great season so far. Of course, we want to bring in some like this Canadian talent over here, but if she's available, she's like kind of like one of the top Canadian prospects here, like in the WNBA right now. So I'd love to have her in, but for Washington's sake and the fact that they already kind of like are slowly developing their core with the people they have there right now, and they've seen how productive they could be even without Aaliyah Edwards, then if you can get a good package back, you can get a solid starter or a good rotational piece along with a second-round pick, then I would do that as well. So selfishly, if they can keep her and they can they can have to make that decision, and potentially she could become available in the expansion draft, obviously I would want that, but package-wise, you probably would be the Mystics would be better off trading her to a team like the Dallas Wings, who like would definitely like jump at the opportunity to trade for someone like Aaliyah.
I feel that. Like I said, it's just a way for us to get back on the court. B, a way to talk about some of the news going on around the league. It's kind of a real disheartening thing when we have to get into CBA mode, both with the NBA and the WNBA when it comes to that stuff. So excuse everybody for like that transition, but it's one of those things where when we talk about that, those are the realities. Marcus mentioned it a few times, and it's one of those things that we do have to address. Like the idea that there is a lockout potentially coming down the pipeline is both disheartening, given the fact that obviously you want to see the production on the court, but it also is an understanding of the business side, seeing that we want these players to be compensated properly for their worth. But it makes it one of those things where when you're a podcast that enjoys talking about the on-the-court production of basketball, we try our best, you know what I'm saying, to lock in on what's actually going on. So I just thought it was really interesting to be able to get you guys' thoughts on that, mainly because, again, the Washington Mystics are in a really good spot. And, again, as a fan of a rebuilding team, you know, obviously I like the Mystics from a WNBA perspective, but as a fan of a rebuilding team in the NBA, I feel like these are interesting
The
conversations to have
Chicago
when you talk
Bulls
about.
are not rebuilding, and I
Yeah, I know, bro, but I'm just gonna believe that they are until they actually do.
They're never
You know what I mean?
rebuilding.
I'm just gonna believe they are until they do for real. Okay.
Okay.
Chill.
I know the good book says that we
Chill.
should speak things that aren't as though they are, but it's okay to live in reality. They're not rebuilding,
man.
and that's
At
okay.
least the Wizards are actually rebuilding. Let's give them that. Let's give them that.
Yeah,
credit,
and also
right?
don't ever utter the Mystics and the Wizards in the same breath again. The Mystics have won a championship. Well, in our lives.
Okay, bro, but I'm
In our
just talking about from a rebuilding perspective. They're both doing okay. All right.
Let's be respectful.
All right. They're both doing good
Okay,
from a
let's
rebuilding
move on. Let's move on to the final
If
segment of the show.
If the Wizards wouldn't let a point guard who can't even reach the top of his refrigerator spook them, maybe the Wizards would have a championship. But it is what it is. Let's draft.
Bro.
What a draft! What a draft! It's a great
Shout out
transition.
Isaiah Thomas. Shout out 2016 Isaiah Thomas. Huh?
No, twice. Not forgotten, never forgotten. All right, let's move on to the final segment of the show, and it is going to be the WNBA All-Star Draft. And the way we're going to do this is we got 20 people. We have 20 players here available to choose from, and we're going to be doing this into two teams. We have Marcus, who's going to be a team on his own while we're doing this draft, and you got a team of the Hit Your Free Throw Spot, and me and Jay. We're going to go back and forth with our picks and see how our teams match up, and you guys get to decide who has a better team between the two. Marcus, we're gonna let you have, as the guest, we're gonna let you have the first overall pick, and then we're gonna go back and forth. Jay, should we let him? Okay, you know what, Marcus, we're gonna give you the choice. You want the first pick of the starters or the first pick of the reserves?
Does the first pick of the starters include Caitlin Clark or Nafisa Collier?
Yes, we'll do that. We'll do that
I want
too.
the first pick of the starters.
Okay, first pick of the starters. That means me and Jay will get the first pick of the reserves. Marcus, we'll throw it over to you. Who are you going to be here with your first overall pick? I kind of know where you're going with this.
Nafisa Collier.
Yes. Okay. Pretty simple. I'm sorry. I know that's Jay's girl too. I know that's Jay's girl, but Nafisa Collier was obviously going to be the first one off the board. The MVP probably this year as well. Jay, you want to discuss this, or do you want to just take this pick on your own? I'm cool with it either or. We just go back and forth.
I feel like we know that we're taking Caitlin Clark number one, so I feel like we should just kind of go ahead and
let's do it
and get that done.
Yeah,
just given the circumstances, right? Just go bar for bar. The draft really starts at 3, right? Let's be real.
I know. Hey, no, but we're letting like Marcus get the reigning MVP too. So I don't know if we want to go with Caitlin number 2. That was like going to be my thing. Like, do we want to go Caitlin? Do we want to go Asia? I'm cool with Caitlin though. I'll go inside Caitlin to the team.
All right, bet.
Okay, let's add Caitlin. Marcus?
Go ahead, man.
Discussion here for Caitlin Clark. I don't.
Right.
I wouldn't be able to take Caitlin Clark anyway because she's a captain. Like, you guys would have to.
I was gonna say we would have to take her eventually. Might as well just go ahead and get out the way.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna take Asia.
Okay.
I mean, I was gonna say, given the fact that we kind of get Caitlin Clark as by default, we were looking at this lineup being what it was. We were staring Nafisa Collier plus Asia Wilson in the face. We were basically staring it in the face.
Okay, that's cool. So you get Asia Wilson. Different ways you could go here. I don't know if you want to go your girl who's having a great year so far. I don't know if you want to go with any of the Liberty players. Where are you feeling, Jay?
I'm going to trust you on this, TV. I'm going to trust you on this one. I think that you should make the first real pick of the draft, and then we'll build around what your co-star brings to the table.
You know,
I'm going to go. Let's trust your gut.
This is it's going to be tough because my favorite player in the league is Sabrina. My favorite player in the league is Sabrina. But I'm not going to complete that backward. You know what? I'm going to go with. I'm going to do this for you, Jay. I'm going to go with. Let's go Satu. Let's go Satu.
Okay. I bet.
I'm cool with Satu.
What?
Market.
Hey, man.
Okay. I'm going to take Stewie.
I was going to take Stewie, too. It's either Stewie or Satu.
Hey, TV, I told you to trust your gut, bro. I told you to trust your gut. Your gut sent you Satu Sabali. It's cool,
Okay,
bro.
go.
I'm not mad at it. I am not mad at it. Honestly, at the point that we are at already, though, I say we go ahead and take Sabrina off the board at that rate.
Okay, we'll take Sabrina. All right, we'll have Sabrina as the backcourt there. Marcus is like,
Hey, man.
Okay. Let's take Paige.
He's laughing like there's some kind of gap there. I don't see these.
No, I'm just confused as to. No, it's okay. Go ahead. I'm just
okay.
confused as to what's happening right now. That's all.
I mean, you getting the first pick and being able to put Asia next to Nafisa was already like.
No, that's fine.
That was good.
Go ahead. I'm just. We'll see what happens here. Just go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
okay.
There's only two
TV?
players left to pick from here. So
I know there's only 2 players left. I need Jay. Let's go for the big. Let's go for the big.
All right.
We go for Aaliyah. I was gonna go.
You talking about Aaliyah Boston?
Or do you think I was gonna go? I wouldn't mind going Alicia.
what?
That's kind of early, TV.
Oh, sorry. Is it early? My bad. Oh, sorry. I'm looking at the wrong list here.
No, you're fine. She's a starter. No, she's a starter.
Left here.
Starter, right? I thought it was just okay. She's a starter, right? Okay. I will get the right list then. Okay, let's go. I thought we were gonna do the starters first, right? We're getting the starters. Yeah. We're doing the
Is
starters
that how
first.
we're doing it? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
the starters
fine.
first.
I didn't know we were
Starters
just
first.
leaning that way. My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're doing
My
it.
bad,
There's
that's
only
my
2
fault.
left, right? There's only 2
Okay,
left.
then in that case, go guard, bro. In that case, go guard. That's fine.
Pardon? Say it again.
I said in that case, you can go with the guard. That's fine.
What?
What we just let's go Leah Boston. We're going to Leah Boston.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
Cool. Am I high?
No. You're fine.
Okay, I'm gonna take Alicia Gray.
Okay, we're taking.
Great.
So, Jay. So, Marcus, what's your starting 5 so far? Who's your starting
My
5?
5 is done. It's Fee, Asia, Stewie, Paige, and Alicia Gray.
Yeah.
So your starting 5 is Caitlin, Aaliyah Boston, Sabrina Ionescu, Nneka, and Satu.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was confused as to why, as drafting for Team Caitlin, it took so long to get to Aaliyah Boston. That's why I kept saying
Yeah.
what. So
No. Let's go to Leah. We're going to Leah. Yeah.
Just confused as to what was happening.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, good, cool. Yeah, I know what you mean.
You don't have to do that, though. But
All right.
Go ahead. Reserves. This will be fun.
Okay, we're gonna go to the reserves. Jay, where are you gonna go here? I'm gonna trust you. Where do you think you're gonna go with the first pick of the reserves? We have a whole bunch of people here we can go with.
I'm not letting Marcus get Kiki Irif in, so I'm just gonna do it now.
Are you gonna go rookie? Okay.
Yeah, bro.
You sure?
It's a really interesting choice.
Okay.
Okay. We'll take Courtney Williams.
Okay, Courtney Williams. Okay. I'm gonna take for our next pick. Give me Kelsey Plum.
Great.
I had a feeling we were gonna be fine, so there we go.
Jackie Young there.
Jackie Young. Okay.
Oh, this draft is picking up quickly. Wait a minute. I was trying to type the names as we go along. It's okay.
Okay. Yeah.
No, you're good. I like this. No, that's good. We're bold. We're being bold today. I'll catch up later. Don't worry about it.
What do you?
TV, you want me to pick or you got an idea?
No. It's you. Because I took Kelsey.
Okay, let's go. Because Marcus just took Jackie, right?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Courtney Williams and Jackie Young were the last 2 back-to-back picks, right?
That is correct.
Give me Alyssa Thomas.
Gabby Williams.
Okay. Cool. Next up, I will take. I'm gonna go. Let's go Skylar.
Angel Reese.
Angel Reese. Okay, Angel Reese coming off the board. Let's go with Jay. What are you thinking? Because I took Skylar.
There's 3 players left. No, 4 players left.
Yeah, I'm just making sure too. Yeah, let's go Ryan Howard.
Ryan Howard. Okay.
That is unfortunate. All right, Sonia Citron.
So we got 2 players left. Do we just? You know what? Let's just get all the fever players. Let's get Kelsey.
Good.
Oh,
So at least Kayla Thornton.
Kayla Thornton going to Marcus to end off the draft. All right, Jay. Let's lead off. Let's pardon?
Basketball wise, this team wins.
I
Basketball
mean,
wise, this team wins.
Jay, you want to
I
read
ain't
off our
gonna lie,
team?
It did get a little wicked after that first pick, didn't it, bro? I ain't gonna lie. That first real pick around 5, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. What happened?
Okay. All right,
Okay,
Jay.
so you guys don't have to help me make sure I fill out the bench because, like I said, we started kind of we got through the reserves kind of fast, but I think I feel pretty confident in terms of most of the players that we named. Our starting 5 is set though, right? Caitlin Clark, Satu Sabali, Sabrina Ionescu, Aaliyah Boston, and Nika Gumake. That one we have pretty set. After that, we also added Aaliyah Boston to the team. We have Ryan Howard on our team, Kiki Iriafen on our team, Kelsey Mitchell to round out the Fever trio on our team. We have Skylar Diggins, Kelsey Plum, Alyssa Thomas as the last one from the group. Not the last pick, but the last one within our rotation.
Yes.
And then
so
Marcus is starting 5.
Marcus, who you got?
Starting 5 is Fee, Asia, Stewie, Paige, and Alicia Gray. And then the bench is Courtney Williams, Jackie Young, Gabby Williams, Angel Reese, Sonia Citron, and Kayla.
I think our bench is valid, TV. I think we're cool. I think our bench is valid. You know what I mean?
No, I'm sorry, but no, that front court of Phoebe, Stewie, and
it's blowing me, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I'm still kind of
Asia. Yeah. I was just like, yeah, no, I get it. You know what? I was like, maybe from with the Stewie pick, I could have got Stewie there, but
I told you around pick 5, it got real spooky. I was like, oh, okay, wait a minute.
No, that's all good. It's all good. But yeah, those are our 2 teams. Let us know what you guys think down below. Whose team is better? Who would Marcus, what happened? Marcus just like had the biggest like look on his face.
I think I just won some money. We're just kind of checking see what's going on here.
Okay, gotcha. Never mind.
Okay, so we're just gonna go down one by one. We're just gonna do this on the pod. It's just gonna happen. Okay. So things I know have already happened already according to FanDuel. Alicia Gray has 2 assists. Ryan Howard has 2 assists. Jordan Cannon has 4 assists. Kayla Thornton has 4 rebounds. Bree Jones has 6 rebounds. Alicia Gray has hit 2 threes. Alicia Gray has 15 points. Tiffany Hayes has 10 points. Kayla Thornton has 10 points. Ryan Howard has 10 points. So I also bet on Jordan Canada getting over 15.5 points and assists. Right now she has 16, so that's good. I also bet on Alicia Gray having over 20.5 points and assists. She has 24 points just alone, so we're good there, right? Ryan Howard needs 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists, and right now, no, she has 21. I did not win any money. There's only 30 seconds left in the game. Bree Jones.
I was like, how much time do we have left?
Bree Jones does have over 20.5 points and rebounds, and the Dream are up 7 points right now.
Oh no.
Not sponsored, but holler at us.
No. Not sponsored,
so
aside
from Ryan Howard not having over 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists, I should have 50.
I was gonna say that's one away. The parlays always get you. The parlays always get you. But yeah, great episode today.
The other parlay I put in for $5, it'll be fun. I wanted 50.
Don't gamble. Don't gamble, kids.
Don't gamble, kids. Gambling's not good.
Kids. But also, if we're sponsored.
If you're good at it,
use code whatever. Yeah.
Use code MarcusTalksSports.
Great episode today. Thank you guys for watching. I was over to Marcus. What do you have to tell these people?
MarcusTalksSports for a $50 bonus bet.
Jesus Christ, this podcast is derailing.
Where can they find you, bro?
Follow me on Instagram at Marcus.talks.sports. Follow me on Twitter at DMTalksSports. Follow me on TikTok at MarcusTalksSports. Honestly, just type in the name Marcus and you should just find me. If you can't find me, you ain't looking hard enough.
100%. All of his links will be found in the description down below, as well as our link tree, as well as the link to the Protect Our Queens podcast, which you can check out with Marcus there every single week. But yeah, it was a great episode today. Thank you again for Marcus for coming on. We're going to have him out throughout the summer as well into the NBA season. We know that we're going to have Marcus on multiple more times on this podcast, 100%. But yeah, Jay, in terms of this pod, what do you have to tell these guys before we sign out?
Hey, bro. I mean, we're trying our best to stay as locked in with the WNBA as humanly possible. I believe that post All-Star break, me and TV are going to get into full deep dive mode. You guys got a little glimpse of what we're able to do in terms of covering the league from a news perspective, in terms of some of the things going around the league on a day-to-day basis. We'll probably be a little bit more locked on that in the TikTok format as well. So pay attention to that. I think leading up to All-Star weekend and then pairing with post All-Star, we will probably be a lot more tapped in a short form sense of covering the day-to-day of the WNBA, especially with the fact that the first real strong wave of stuff in the NBA free agency pool is just about over. So the on-the-court production is where me and TV's minds typically tend to flow the most, and WNBA basketball is in full effect. So expect a lot more of that on, like I said, the short form. That's TikTok, that's YouTube Reels, that's Instagram. Beyond that, we have a lot more content coming soon. TV, should we tell them about the ranking series yet, or should we save it?
What coming in a couple weeks? Point guard, setters, all the positions, top 10 players in the league. That's coming up throughout the summer, as well as all the WNBA content. So it should be a really good summer. And again, we're gonna have another episode this week coming up in terms of all the NBA free agency recap and all that. So be locked into that. But yeah, this has been a great episode. Again, thank you, Marcus, for coming on. It's been a great episode for the three of us. Make sure you check out all of his stuff. Again, those links will be found in the description down below. But yeah, it's been an awesome episode. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit your free throws on all the social medias, podcast networks, YouTube, all that good stuff. We appreciate all of your support. And yeah, we all hope you have a fantastic day. This is TV. This is Jay. This is Marcus. We're signing out. Peace.